Hi guys, a huge problem with Brexit is that even if British producers invest the money necessary to complete the paperwork, make sure that all the documents are correct and that the haulage company has its ducks in a row, something at the port can result in a massive loss for the company. When Great Britain was in the single market, the flow of goods into the EU for sale was pretty much zero friction. Now a problem at the port can cause food to rot. Here a strawberry farmer explains exactly what happened to him.
We walked away from 300 tons of strawberries, just didn't bother picking them. There was a market and that would have taken it, but we couldn't get to it in time. So we just had to walk away from it. They were buying fruit from us, which they could then put on their shelves for say a 3 or 4 day shelf life. And now they're looking at a 2 or 3 day shelf life. And if you're a retailer and you lose 1 day of shelf life on a 4-day product, that's 25%. Those numbers start becoming quite severe if you have wastage. Wastage from disease, from weather, yeah, you have to accept that. There's not a lot you can do about that. But when it's man-made and there's a deliberateness about why it's done, it's impossible. It has to go on prices. If people still want to eat berries, they will have to pay more for it.
And he's right. If people want to eat these products and there are these extra costs, well, they'll have to be passed on to the consumer. There's a few things to mention here. First of all, Kemi Badenoch was in the area before the local elections, trying to ramp up support for the Conservatives. She was interviewed about this, I don't believe directly about this, but about Brexit in general. And she said, well, if she was in charge, she would do a deal with the European Union to reduce the friction. Brexiteer Kemi Badenoch. You know, it wouldn't it have been better to stay in the European Union, in the single market and the customs union, so this farmer wouldn't have to allow 300 tons of strawberries to rot in his field? It seems the checks are the problem here. There is a backlog at the port. Now, I don't know if it's the EU's fault or it's the UK's fault, because the EU generally carry out the checks, but if the infrastructure is not there to maintain those checks, then it will fall apart. It will collapse. So I don't know if the problem is related to the UK or the EU. This is a Brexit problem, either way. There's also another issue. Even if the guy has all the paperwork correct, if the haulier is ready to go and everything is perfect, all the dots are on the I's and the T's have been crossed, if the European importer makes a mistake, this could potentially cause a massive delay. And as was pointed out here, if it's perishable goods like strawberries, 1 day is detrimental. We're not talking about boxes of nails here, we're talking about fresh food. And this seems to be another problem of the port, that there isn't a priority for fresh food. Everything goes through, everything has to be checked in the same way. So that needs to change. And I don't know if that's the responsibility of the EU or if it's the responsibility of the UK government. There's also another thing. Many of the responses to this story have been, well, why doesn't he just sell to Britain? Okay, but he has already a supply chain. He's already found his customers. Obviously, if he had customers in Britain, then he would sell to them. But he probably doesn't have customers in Britain. And he can't just switch on a customer because he has a delay selling goods into the EU. So he has already found customers in the EU. He's managed to produce them at a rate that's competitive with the producers in the European Union. So he's done everything that he's supposed to do, and he's failed, not because of him, not because of maybe his customer, but because of the checks. So he's been failed by Brexit. He's been failed by the Tories for not putting in place the measures to deal with these problems beforehand, and maybe he's been failed by the European Union for not ensuring that the checks are carried out as quickly as possible. Either way, he's been failed. This would not be happening if the UK was still a member. So he can't just switch on a new customer. He can't just sell into a supermarket because they need to come to him, and he can reach out to them, but they have to be willing to take his stock, and in a very short period of time. It doesn't work in the simple way that many people think, just find another customer. No, it's very difficult. So once again, none of this would be happening if Kemi Badenoch hadn't tried to convince people, like the Conservatives did, to vote to leave the European Union.